Well, this is Baruch here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and it's Rabbi Mimran time. And we're in part 15 as we are moving deeper into this book. It says, this is a period, part 15, which is called the end of time. It's very interesting that time dominates our lives. We maybe don't realize that. Because, particularly, I like to say, because we are all aware of the fact that we have only so much time in this world. So therefore, time is very important. He says, this is the Mikor HaChaim Rav Ibn Gabriel. So he says the purpose of man's existence is to attach his soul to the higher world. Through this, he will be able to connect with him who is similar to. That's very interesting. Is that our neshamas are really a portion of the infinite Ein Sof. So the concept here is though he will be able to connect through him to him who is similar to, also similar. So God in his infinite wisdom, Rabbi Mimran writes, has disguised souls in material forms for a definite purpose. As discussed at length in the book of Shara Gilgulim, the Gates of Reincarnation. This is written by the Arizal. Unfortunately, mankind has reached such complexity that the basic awareness has been completely lost. In present-day humans, consciousness is completely identified with its disguise, its outer form. Now, let's read this again. So in Kabbalah, we have the concept of Pneumios and the Chitzonius. And very often, when the Kabbalists want to speak, Rebbe Shimon or the Ari wants to speak about the other side, in other words, the first forces of evil, he'll call it Chitzonius. So here he says, in present-day humans, consciousness is completely identified with its disguise. What is its disguise? It's Chitzonius, its outer form. In other words, you can't judge a book by its cover. It only knows itself as form and therefore lives in fear of the annihilation of its physical or psychological form. It's really explaining this. This is how we live. This is the egoic mind, and this is where considerable dysfunction sets in. Well, don't we live in, as I would say this question, don't we live in a world which is difficult and dangerous? So don't we have to always live in fear of the fact that something could happen to us? So he said this is really the egoic mind, the mind that is only concerned about your body. Let us give a parable to understand this better. There once was a young prince whose father, the king, felt that his son was ready to leave the comforts of the palace and challenged him to venture into the real world, to become independent, gain a living on his own merit and strength. Concealing his identity and that no one knowing who he really truly was, the young prince starts out on his journey with excitement and enthusiasm, but slowly feels his energy level becoming depleted, as well as his money, due to his inability to cope with the tremendous demands of his new life. So you have to get up every morning. With no other choice, he commences to work and enters the illusionary pursuit of wealth and happiness. Over time, he notices that his actions are not drawing him any closer to his goal, but rather immersing him in an ever-spiraling chase for the individual and the unreachable. One day, finding himself in a state of total exhaustion and close to a nervous breakdown, giving up all hope, he pauses. He is still and experiences a feeling of calmness, of assurance that all will be okay. There's nothing to fear. He is the son of the king. Now he says what? What's this parable supposed to teach us? He says this parable describes the journey of the soul that God implants in all things to live in this physical reality we call the earth. The animated body and the spiritual soul, now in a tight-knit relationship, are here on this planet to gain awareness of their Creator and gain perfection for themselves in both the physical and spiritual dimensions. This is done by following a prescribed set of rules devised by the ultimate wisdom of God in His Torah, in order to transmute and transform themselves into elevated spiritual beings in the prescribed time limit of 6,000 years. If successful in his life's journey, that soul then lives in a state of ecstasy forever after. Now, a lot of this has to be repeated to understand it a little bit. So let me just read it one more time, this last paragraph. What does the paragraph tell you? So this is a story about the king's son who has to go out in the world, make a living. And then eventually he has a terrible time, and he just doesn't know what to do, and eventually he's going to break down. But then, in that moment where he becomes completely and totally broken, at that moment he's able to see that there's something else in the world. That is, he's the son of the king. Who's the king? The Ein Sof Baruch Hu, Kodesh Baruch Hu. This parable describes the journey of the soul that God implants in all things to live in this physical reality we call the earth. Now, we live here, that's no question. The animated body and the spiritual soul, now in a tight-knit relationship, are here on this planet to gain awareness of their Creator and gain perfection for themselves in both the physical and spiritual dimensions. This is done by following a prescribed set of rules divided by the ultimate wisdom of God in His Torah. So in other words, keep the commandments. But he's thinking something else. In order to transmute and transform themselves into elevated spiritual beings. He says this is the purpose that we have in this world. This is what we're supposed to be doing in this world. In the prescribed time limit of 6,000 years, and all of this perfection has to be achieved. And we've given 6,000 years. And we come back into the world, and we go into the next world. We come back after. In 6,000 years, we have that amount of time. If successful in his life's journey, that soul then lives in a state of ecstasy forever after. So the perfection that we seek in this world is the perfection that will ultimately carry us by being connected into the next world. Now, this is his vort, his blurb. The animated body and the spiritual soul, now in a tight-knit relationship, are here on this planet to gain awareness of their Creator. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this has been listening to Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran. The book, The Ultimate Connection with God.